Before we step into our story, I invite you to find a comfortable position. Whether you are sitting or lying down, allow your body to feel heavy, supported by the surface beneath you. Let your hands rest gently, your shoulders fall away from your ears. And now, let's take a deep, cleansing breath together. Inhale slowly through your nose, filling your lungs completely, feeling your chest and belly expand. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now hold it for just a moment.
And exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing everything. Let go of the day. Let go of your worries. Let go of your thoughts. Just be here, in this moment, with the sound of my voice. As you settle in, I'd love to feel a connection with you. I wonder where you are listening from right now, in your corner of the world. What time is it for you? Is the sun shining? Or is the moon casting a gentle glow outside your window? Just hold that image in your mind. You are safe here. You are welcome here. And now, let the story begin to unfold. Like a lotus flower opening its petals to the morning sun. In the ancient lands of Magadha, where the dust of the roads was as old as memory, and the banyan trees held the secrets of 1,000 monsoons, there lived a man named Kaelen. He was not a king, nor a great warrior, nor a wealthy merchant. Kaelen was a woodcarver, and his hands, though calloused and stained, could coax life from silent, unmoving blocks of sandalwood and teak. His creations were the marvel of his village, Anisetika. He could carve a goddess whose smile seemed to shift with the light, a lion whose muscles rippled with unspoken power, a tiny sparrow so delicate it looked as if a single breath could grant it flight. People came from neighboring towns to purchase his art, paying well for the magic he spun from wood. Yet Kaelen knew no peace. His gift was also his curse, for he was a prisoner of perfection. Each night as he lay on his simple mat, sleep was a distant shore he could not reach. His mind was a frantic workshop, replaying every cut, every stroke of his chisel from the day. He would see a line on a dancer's robe that was a hair's breadth too deep, a shadow on a deity's face that did not fall with absolute precision. These were imperfections no one else could ever see, but to Kaelen, they were screaming failures. He would toss and turn, his heart pounding, his body tense, his mind a storm of self-criticism. The night was not a time for rest. It was a time of torment, where the ghosts of his incomplete or imperfect work would rise to haunt him. His days were spent in a state of high nervous tension, and his nights were spent in the exhausting aftermath. The joy of creation had long ago been replaced by the fear of failure. He was weary. His soul felt as brittle as a dried leaf, ready to crumble into dust. One evening, after another day of agonizing work on a statue of a celestial Apsara, Kaelen felt a despair so profound it stole his breath. He had worked until his fingers were numb and his eyes burned, yet the expression of serene transcendence he sought for the Apsara remained elusive. It felt like a mask, not a face. He threw down his finest chisel with a clatter that echoed in the quiet twilight of his workshop. He walked out into the dusty lane, his mind screaming. He could not go on like this. He would either lose his mind or his craft, or both. As he stood under the emerging stars, his shoulders slumped in defeat, he overheard two elderly men talking as they returned from the market. They spoke in hushed tones about a man who was teaching in the nearby mango grove. They did not call him a god or a magician. They called him the Buddha, the awakened one. They said that he spoke not of rituals or heavens, but of the nature of suffering and the path to its end. One of the men said, "I listened to him speak today. He said that our suffering comes from our clinging, from our desperate hold on things that are always changing. It was as if he were looking directly into my own heart." The other man nodded, his face calm. They say that just to sit in his presence is to feel a great peace, a quietness of the mind that is more restorative than 1,000 nights of sleep. 1,000 nights of sleep. The words struck Kaelen like a physical blow. It was a treasure more valuable to him than all the gold in the king's treasury. A flicker of something he had not felt in years, hope, ignited within his weary heart. He was a man of logic and craft, skeptical of gurus and miracle workers. But his desperation was a powerful tide, and it washed away his doubt. The next morning, for the first time in years, Kaelen did not go to his workshop at dawn. He left his tools, including the half-finished mocking Absara, covered in a soft cloth. He washed his face, ate a simple piece of bread, and set out on the path towards the mango grove they had spoken of. As you listen, imagine yourself walking with Kaelen. Feel the cool morning air on your skin. Feel the soft, dusty earth beneath your feet with each step. With each step Kaelen takes away from his workshop, imagine yourself taking a step away from your own worries. Let them remain behind you, covered in a soft cloth, just for now. The path led him out of the familiar village lanes, past fields where early farmers were already at work, their voices carrying on the gentle breeze. He entered the cooler, shadier realm of the forest that bordered the village. The sounds changed. The chatter of the village was replaced by the chirping of unseen birds, the rustle of leaves, and the low hum of insects. The light filtered down through the dense canopy in shifting patterns, dappling the path before him. He walked for what felt like a long time, his mind still buzzing with its usual anxieties. He worried about the time he was wasting. He worried that this was a fool's errand. But he kept walking, putting one foot in front of the other, his desperation his only guide.
And then he felt it. It was not a sound or a sight, but a change in the very quality of the air. The nervous energy of the world seemed to soften, to still. The forest ahead opened into a large, sun-drenched grove of ancient mango trees. And there, sitting in the dappled shade, was a gathering of people. Some were in the saffron robes of monks, their heads shaved, their postures erect but relaxed. Others were simple villagers, men and women, old and young, sitting on the ground, their faces turned towards a single figure. In the center, seated beneath the largest mango tree, was the Buddha. Kaelen stopped at the edge of the grove, hidden partly by the trunk of a tree. He watched. The Buddha was not what he had expected. He was simply a man,
his face imbued with a serenity so profound it was breathtaking. It was not the blank serenity Kaelen had tried to carve. This was a serenity born of deep understanding, of a peace that had been fully and completely won. His eyes were kind, and a gentle, almost imperceptible smile played on his lips. His voice was calm and clear, like the water of a mountain spring flowing over smooth stones. Kaelen could not make out the words from his distance, but he could feel their effect on the crowd. They were simply present. The entire grove was saturated with an atmosphere of profound peace. Kaelen felt his own tightly coiled tension begin to unwind, just a little. The frantic buzzing in his mind lessened, replaced by a simple, focused curiosity. After the talk concluded, the crowd began to disperse, slowly. Kalen's courage failed him. He could not bring himself to approach this man, to voice his petty, sleepless struggles in the face of such luminous peace. He turned and walked back the way he came, his mind a confusing mixture of disappointment in himself and a strange new sense of calm. He had not received a miracle cure, but he had seen that peace was possible. That night, as he lay on his mat, the usual storm of obsessive thoughts began to gather. But then, another image inserted itself into his mind, the image of the grove. He remembered the quality of the silence. He remembered the gentle, knowing smile of the Buddha. He focused on that image and began to breathe slowly, trying to mimic the unhurried rhythm of that peaceful place. He did not sleep well, but he slept. He woke the next morning feeling not refreshed, but different, a little less raw, a little less broken. He decided to go back. For a week, Kaelen followed the same routine. He would rise, walk to the grove, and stand at the edge, listening and watching. He began to catch more of the words. The Buddha spoke of mindfulness, of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. He spoke of impermanence. "Why do you suffer?" he asked one day. "You suffer because you are trying to build a permanent house on the bank of a flowing river. You are trying to hold water in a clenched fist. Let go. Let it flow." The words echoed in Kalen's mind. He arrived at his workshop and, instead of working on the apsara, he sat before a simple block of sandalwood. He closed his eyes and focused on his breath. Inhale, exhale. He just breathed. Then he opened his eyes and simply looked at the wood. He picked up a simple knife, and with a calm, steady hand, he made a single flowing cut. He was not trying to make anything. He was just following the wood, following the feeling, following the breath. He worked for hours, completely lost in the process. The knot of anxiety in his shoulders was gone. The frantic planning in his mind was silent. When the sun began to set, he stopped. He looked down at the wood. He had carved a simple, cupped hand, like a lotus petal. It was not perfect. The old Kaelen would have been horrified. But the Kaelen of this evening looked at it and felt a wave of gentle affection. It was not perfect, but it was honest. When he lay down on his mat that night, his mind was not a raging sea. It was a still, calm lake. And for the first time in more than a decade, Kaelen fell into a deep, dreamless, and profoundly healing sleep. He awoke to the sound of birdsong. He felt deeply rested. A feeling of gratitude, warm and unfamiliar, spread through his chest. He knew what he had to do. Today, he would walk as a seeker. When he arrived at the grove, the Buddha was already speaking.
Today he was speaking about the mind. Your mind, he said, is like a wild elephant. It crashes through the forest of your thoughts. The task is not to kill the elephant. The task is to train it, gently, patiently, with kindness. The rope you use to tether this wild elephant is your breath. Kaelen listened, and it felt as though the Buddha was describing the chaos that had lived inside his head for decades. After the talk, Kaelen remained seated. His heart was pounding with the rhythm of courage. He stood up, and with trembling legs, walked towards the great tree. He stopped a respectful distance away and bowed his head, holding the small carved hand in his own. "Venerable Sir," he began, "I am a wood carver. My mind is a cruel master. It has robbed me of my sleep for years." He held out the wooden hand. "Yesterday, for the first time, I listened to your words. I carved this. It is full of flaws. And last night, I slept through the entire night." The Buddha looked at the carved hand, then back at Kaelen's face. A gentle smile touched his lips. "There are no flaws in this," the Buddha said. "What you call flaws are simply the story of the wood meeting your hand in a moment of peace. That is not imperfection, that is truth." He gestured for Kaelen to sit, and Kaelen told him everything. The endless pressure, the fear, the hollowness. The Buddha listened without interruption, his listening a healing act in itself. When Kaelen was done, the Buddha spoke. "You believe your suffering comes from your carving, but your carving is just the stage. The play is about your attachment. You are attached to an idea of perfection. You suffer because you are trying to freeze the river." "What am I to do?" Kaelen whispered. "Your carving can be your path to liberation, not your prison. It can be your meditation. Before you work, sit and watch your breath. As you work, keep part of your attention on your breath. Your work is no longer about creating a perfect object. Your work is now about training your mind. Go back to your Apsara. Do not try to carve serenity onto her face. Find the serenity in your own breath first. Let the peace you cultivate within you flow through your tools and into the wood. Then her smile will be a true one." The Buddha gave him one last piece of advice. "Tonight, when you lie down to sleep, do not command yourself to rest. Simply pay attention to the sensation of your body on the mat. When thoughts come, treat them like clouds. Just watch them drift by. And always, gently, return your attention to your breath. Your sleep is not a destination to be conquered. It is a surrender to be allowed." Kaelen walked home not as a man running from his demons, but as a student, ready to practice. He entered his workshop. It felt different, no longer a place of judgment. He placed a cushion on the floor before the Apsara and sat down and closed his eyes. He watched the wild elephant of his mind, the thoughts of deadlines and fears. Ah, there is the fear of failure. He did not fight it. He gently guided his attention back to his breath. In and out. He sat like this for a long time, a patient, quiet training. Slowly, the spaces between the thoughts grew longer. A quiet pool of stillness began to form. From this place of quiet, he finally opened his eyes and began to work. His movements were slow, flowing, and attentive. Each stroke of the chisel was accompanied by a breath. He was completely absorbed in the present moment. Hours melted away. At one point, his chisel slipped. It gouged a deep line across the Apsara's cheek. The old Kaelen would have despaired, but now he simply stopped. He closed his eyes and watched the feeling of panic rise and then, without being fed by more thoughts, recede. He opened his eyes and looked at the flaw. His quiet mind saw an opportunity. An Apsara sheds a divine tear for the world. He could transform the flaw into a feature, a story of compassion more profound than simple serenity. A smile of true peace is one that has known sorrow. A feeling of deep, creative joy bubbled up within him. He picked up his tools again, his hands guided by this new inspiration. He worked with a lightness and freedom he had never known. The face of the Apsara began to change. The stiff smile softened. He carved her eyes to be looking slightly downwards with gentle empathy. He carved the path of the tear, and her lips now held a smile that was both serene and deeply compassionate. It was alive. It was true. As evening fell, he put down his tools, his body tired, but his spirit soaring. He had done his practice. When he finally lay on his mat, he followed the Buddhist's instruction. He did not try to sleep. He simply felt the weight of his body. He brought his attention to the gentle, rhythmic rise and fall of his belly. Thoughts came, but they were like soft clouds drifting lazily across a vast sky. He did not follow them. He remained with the simple, solid, grounding sensation of his own breathing body. He did not know the exact moment he crossed the threshold from awareness into slumber. It was not a crossing, but a gentle dissolving. He simply melted into a deep, profound, and utterly peaceful sleep. Held safely in the cradle of the present moment, Kaelen's sleep was a vast, deep ocean, and his waking was not a sudden breach of the surface, but a gentle, slow ascent into the soft light of a new day. The sounds of the village, a distant rooster, the low murmur of a neighbor starting their day, did not jolt him with a sense of urgency. They were simply sounds, arising and falling away in the vast space of his newfound quiet. He lay for a few moments, feeling the warmth of the thin blanket, the solid support of the earth beneath his mat. He was aware of his body, rested and whole. The wild elephant of his mind was not just tethered, it was sleeping peacefully in the sun-drenched clearing he had so patiently cultivated. He rose and walked to the center of his workshop. There stood the Apsara. In the gentle morning light, she seemed to breathe. The smile on her face was no longer his creation alone. It felt as though it had emerged from the wood's own deep wisdom. The single, perfect tear he had carved from a flaw caught the light, not as a mark of sadness, but as a jewel of profound empathy. The old Kaelen would have felt a surge of possessive pride, a frantic need for validation. But as he stood there now, he felt only a quiet, deep affection, as one feels for a beloved friend who has taught you something invaluable about yourself. The statue was finished, and with that knowledge came a new thought, a new test. It was time to deliver it to the merchant, Lord Avan, the man who had commissioned it. Avan was the wealthiest man in the region, a man of sharp tastes and sharper judgments. His home was a palace of polished marble and shimmering silks, a world away from Kaelen's dusty workshop. Lord Avan valued perfection.
the kind of cold, flawless perfection Kaelen had spent his life chasing and failing to achieve. A familiar tremor, the distant echo of his old fear, vibrated deep within Kaelen. What would a man like Avon see? He would not see a story of compassion. He would see a scar. He would see a mistake, a flaw in the product he had paid handsomely for. The elephant stirred, shaking its great head. Kaelen felt his heart begin to beat faster, but he did not let the fear take hold. He stopped. He closed his eyes. He did not fight the fear. He simply acknowledged it. "Ah," he noted with a gentle inner voice, "there is the fear of judgment. There is the attachment to praise." He took a long, slow breath, and then another. He guided his attention away from the imagined future in Avon's grand house and back to the solid reality of the present moment. The feeling of the cool workshop floor beneath his bare feet, the scent of sandalwood in the air, the steady, reliable rhythm of his own breathing body. He was here, now. And in the here and now, he was safe. The fear subsided, its power dissolved by the simple light of his awareness. His practice was not just for the cushion or the carving bench. It was for this. It was for life.
With a calm and steady heart, he began the day's work. The task was not carving, but preparing. He found the softest silk cloths he owned and began to wrap the apsara. Each fold, each touch was deliberate and mindful. He was not just protecting a statue, he was tending to a friend, showing his gratitude for the lessons she had taught him. He built a special frame on his small wooden cart to hold her securely. Every knot he tied was tied with his full attention. The frantic haste that used to accompany any deadline was gone, replaced by a slow, graceful efficiency. Finally, all was ready. He gently wheeled the cart out of his workshop and into the bright sunlight of the village lane. The journey to Lord Avon's estate took him through the heart of the village market. In the past, this walk would have been an exercise in agony. The noise, the crowds, the chaos would have mirrored and amplified his inner turmoil. But today, Kaelen walked through it as if he were walking through a gentle stream. He noticed the vibrant colors of the spices piled high in pyramids. He heard the musical haggling of the vendors and the laughter of children, not as a jarring noise, but as the living pulse of his village. He guided his cart carefully, his mind anchored to the physical sensation of the wooden handle in his hands and the gentle rumble of the wheels on the packed earth. He was an island of calm in the midst of a bustling sea. He soon left the village behind, and the path led to the grand gates of Lord Avon's estate. The gates were opened by guards whose armor gleamed with a perfection Kaelen no longer envied. He was led through manicured gardens where flowers were arranged in flawless patterns and fountains cast rainbows in the air. It was a world of immense, controlled beauty, but Kaelen found his heart did not ache with the feeling of his own inadequacy as it once would have. He simply saw it for what it was, another way of being. He was guided to a large, open hall, with floors so polished they reflected the silk hangings on the walls. He was instructed to wait. He stood by his simple cart, a stark contrast to the opulence around him, but he did not feel out of place. He felt solid, grounded in his own truth. He stood quietly, his attention resting on his breath, a silent, unshakable anchor. After a time, Lord Avon entered. He was dressed in deep blue silks, his face sharp and intelligent, his eyes accustomed to assessing value in an instant. "The woodcarver," Avon said, his voice polite but without warmth. "You have brought my Apsara." "Yes, my lord," Kaelen replied, his voice quiet but clear. "Then let us see it. I have been waiting." This was the moment, the final test. Kaelen felt the elephant stir one last time. He took a breath. Then, with the same mindful care he had used to wrap her, he began to unwrap the statue. The silk cloths fell away, revealing the form of the celestial dancer. A hush fell over the grand hall. The statue was magnificent. The grace of the form, the life in the posture was undeniable. Lord Oven walked a slow circle around it, his sharp eyes taking in every detail. Kaelen did not watch Oven's face for a reaction. He kept his attention on his own breath, on the feeling of his feet on the floor. He would not let his peace be given away or taken by another's opinion. Oven completed his circle and stopped, his sharp eyes fixed on the Apsara's face. His own face hardened slightly. He raised a finger and pointed. "What is this?" he asked, his voice now sharp as glass. "There is a line, a scar on her cheek. I paid for perfection, Carver. This is a flaw." The words struck the air. The old Kaelen would have crumbled. He would have stammered, apologized, offered to fix it, to start again. His world would have collapsed. But the Kaelen who stood in the hall was different. He felt the sting of the accusation, but he did not react. He let the feeling arise, he observed it, and he let it pass. He met the merchant's hard gaze with his own calm, open one. "It is not a scar, my lord," Kaelen said gently. "It is a tear." Oven's eyebrows raised in skepticism. A tear? An excuse for a slipped tool, perhaps? At first, I believed it was a mistake too, and my heart was filled with despair. But then I was taught to look more deeply. An Apsara dances for the joy of the heavens, but her heart is not made of stone. She looks down upon our world, upon our joys and our sorrows, and she is moved. A serenity that has never known suffering is just a mask. But a serenity that can witness suffering and respond with compassion, that is true peace. Her smile is serene not because she is aloof from our world, but because she understands it. The tear is the proof of her compassion. It is what makes her smile true.
Kaelen spoke simply, without artifice, sharing the truth he had discovered in his own heart. He was not trying to sell the merchant on an idea. He was offering a new way of seeing. A long silence filled the hall. Lord Oven stared at the statue, his sharp gaze softening. He looked from the tear to the compassionate smile, and back again. He, a man who dealt in hard facts and flawless objects, was being shown a story, a soul. He stepped closer, his own hand rising as if to touch the tear, but he stopped himself. "I have dozens of statues in this house," Oven said at last, his voice softer now, almost musing to himself. "They are all perfect, and they are all silent. This one speaks." He turned to Kaelen, and for the first time he truly saw the man before him. The simple clothes, the calloused hands, the profound, unshakable calm in his eyes. "You have brought me not just what I asked for, but something more, something I did not know I was missing." He motioned to an attendant. "Pay the carver his fee, and add a bonus for his wisdom." The old Kaelen would have swelled with pride at the bonus, but now he simply bowed his head in gratitude. The money was useful, but the true payment was the knowledge that his peace had held firm, that he had spoken his truth and been heard. He had passed the test.
The journey home was lighter. The cart was empty, but his heart was full, not with the bloating gas of ego, but with a quiet, nourishing warmth. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the rice paddies, he did not think of the merchant's praise or the extra gold. He thought of the Buddha's smile. He thought of the feeling of his breath, the anchor that had held him steady in the storm. He returned to his workshop, his sanctuary, a place no longer defined by the specter of failure or the desperate need for success. It was simply his place to be, his place to practice. As he lay on his mat that night, the events of the day floated through his mind like leaves on a gentle stream. He did not cling to the victory or the praise. He simply observed the memories and let them float by. He returned his attention, as he now knew how, to the simple, humble, miraculous sensation of his body breathing. He had found peace not just in the solitude of his workshop, but had learned to carry it with him, a quiet lantern in the busy, demanding world. And as he surrendered to the darkness, his last conscious thought was one of immense gratitude, not for his skill, but for his breath. And now, as Kaelen rests, having carried his peace out into the world and brought it safely home again, you too can feel that peace settling within you. Your own breath is your anchor. Your own bed is your safe harbor. There are no tests to pass, no judgments to fear. There is only the gentle, rhythmic tide of your breathing, carrying you out into the vast, calm ocean of deep, restorative sleep. Let go, surrender, rest now.